Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 24 playthrough of the expansion Buffalo Wings. And we are less than 3 months away from the Wings' debut in Major League Baseball. They'll be competing in the National League East this upcoming season. You can see we have the lowest budget in baseball, the lowest player payroll in baseball. We do have a lot of money available at this point to add some talent to our team. And we've got our scouting budget maxed out. We've got a lot of money set aside for player development, the draft, and international amateur free agency. So I think the thought right now is if we can sign some veterans who could help us to short term, most likely 1 year deals as we get closer to spring training, we'll certainly be interested in adding some talent to this team. Don't expect that we're going to be contenders in our first season. As I've said in previous episodes, my goal is to just avoid 100 losses. And right now, I think it's going to be hard for us to avoid 100 losses. So certainly the ability to add a few veterans who can give us some more proven major league players as we get closer to the start of spring training and the start of the season, probably going to be helpful. So that's going to be our goal in the coming weeks. We have made a couple of offers. Justin Brule, the left-handed reliever, is a free agent. Offered him $3.3 million over 3 years. And then we still have a couple of international free agents who we've offered minor league deals with $100,000 bonuses to. So hopefully we'll be able to bring one or both of those international free agents on board as well. And you can see we've also offered minor league contracts to a number of players to hopefully help strengthen our minor league system, which was not particularly good last season. If I could go to the proper screen, the Albany Capitals, our AAA team, were 90 and 60, filled with a lot of 4A kind of players that we had signed over the last season or two. But our AA team in Utica, our high A team in Jamestown, our A team in Marathon, Florida, and then our FCL and our DSL teams all had losing records, and in some cases, most notably Marathon and Jamestown, awful records. So we're going to continue looking to build up some talent. International amateur free agency is going to come up in the next couple of months. Hopefully we can sign some players to help our farm system there, and then we'll certainly be getting ready for the amateur draft this summer, where we will be picking first, and the other expansion team, the Nashville Stars, will be picking second. And the preseason begins today on January 27th. Got some good news from owner Joel Farmer. Gave us a big boost in our budget up to $180 million. That still is only the 28th biggest budget in baseball, but you can see we've got a ton of money to potentially spend at this point. So I'm going to start getting more aggressive in terms of bringing on some players on 1 year contracts. You can see there's not a ton of high-end talent available at this point, but there definitely are players available who could help our team, and the prices for these guys who are still available on the market at this point have started to come down to more reasonable levels. And we do have one offer outstanding, if you didn't notice. Garrett Crochet, $9.4 million over 2 years. We made that offer to him a few days ago. Says he wants more money. We've certainly got more money to spend right now, so we'll see if maybe we can get something done with him. Although we offered him $4.7 million a year. He says he only wants $3.4 million a year here, so he may be a little confused. No, he actually is looking for more money. So we have made a few offers. Certainly not going to spend all the money that we've got to spend because there's just not a ton of talent available right now. But we've made minor league offers with major league options to Christian Vasquez, Matt Andres, Eloy Jimenez, and we still have negotiations going on with Garrett Crochet as well. And we did get Christian Vasquez signed to that minor league deal with major league options. Gonna owe him 3.4 million if he makes the 40-man roster, but certainly is the best defensive catcher in our organization, like the captain personality. The issue is that he doesn't have much of a bat, but certainly think he's got a pretty good chance of sticking with our team coming out of spring training. And we made it to international free agency for the amateurs, which apparently started yesterday. I just happened to check in because I was going to run the camps again, and it just started yesterday. And you can see there's already been a couple of players signed, unfortunately. The timing of this got messed up with the expansion draft and the dummy teams that we had to put in. So one small casualty, but the big players are out there, so hopefully no harm, no foul. Looking at the top 5 offensive players, I'm going to go after one of these guys. Andres Chapa, second baseman, looks like a really interesting bat. Love the personality. He's a man without a position to some degree, probably a natural first baseman at 6'3". Don't really want to play him in the outfield, but certainly think he's an interesting prospect. Would happily bring him on board. We've got a strong relationship with him. League interest is high. Santiago Marte out of Venezuela, another guy that we really like. Durable, decent defensive outfielder, has a little speed. The contact and the gap power are both off the charts. Also pretty good home run power. Pretty good at avoiding strikeouts. The only knock on him is that he's not going to walk in excessive amount. Jorge Espinoza, first baseman, doesn't bring much to the table defensively and in terms of his speed, and I think he's kind of a notch below those other 2 guys that we just looked at. Frank Herrera, third baseman out of Venezuela, like the high work ethic. He's got the arm to play third base in okay range, but the error rating is definitely not optimal, but still has a pretty interesting bat. And last but not least, Jorge Vera, the youngest of these guys, a 16-year-old out of the Dominican. Looks like he could have a pretty solid bat, like the durability. Doesn't bring a ton in terms of his glove. To me, I like Chapa and Marte the best. We've got strong relationships with both of them. I'd happily have either of these guys on board. They're really pretty interesting prospects. You know, the one knock on both of them is that they're not going to walk a ton. I do appreciate that Marte is probably a little more versatile defensively because you could play him in left, center, or right. 6'2", he could honestly be a first baseman also. I do appreciate the durability of Marte, but I do appreciate the high work ethic of Chapa. I think right now, with the fact that we've got 4.75 million and everyone has 4.75 million, so I think that's another sign that something got messed up with all of the machinations to create this expansion league. But I think I'm going to try to throw offers out to both of them right now, not expecting that I'll be able to land them both. Pretty confident that the amount that both of these guys are going to go for is going to end up approaching $4.75 million. But we'll at least get the discussions going. Here with Marte, he said his number was 1.3 million, but here he's only saying 850,000. I'm going to offer him $1.5 million. Maybe we'll be able to get him locked up quickly and for less than I would have anticipated. Similarly, we'll get an offer out to Chapa. Actually, he's looking for $4 million already. So he says he does love our organization and would like to come play with us. But I'm a little more interested in Marte. So that's who we're going to focus on right now. And not surprisingly, Marte has already come back to us, says he's got a big offer from Houston and he's looking for more money. Says he's looking for 2.8 million. We're gonna pop it right up to 3 million and see if maybe we can land him for less than the full 4.75 million, which would allow us to pivot to at least a backup option or two to round out our international amateur free agent class this season. And apparently Marte's got a big offer from the Red Sox now, so says he's looking for 4.4 million. We'll give him a little more, put it up to 4.5 million. Obviously getting close to the max. We'll see what happens. And we did get Santiago Marte signed. Took $4.5 million, so obviously we don't have a ton of money left, just $250,000. Maybe we can get one other player signed, but viewed him as either prospect 1A or 1B. I kind of liked him a little more than the infielder, just because I felt that that guy really wasn't a second baseman and he was going to have to move to first base. A little more position versatility, at least in the outfield and first base with Marte. Liked the durability. Did like the high work ethic of the other guy, but Marte is in our system now, so another pretty solid international free agent signing for our team, and now we'll see if we can pick up another guy or two for the last $250,000 we've got to spread around. And we have also gotten Eloy Jimenez signed. I think he's definitely going to be in contention to be a left fielder or a designated hitter for us. Gives us another competent major league bat, and it's only a 1-year commitment. And honestly, it's a contract with major league options. So if he doesn't end up making our team, not going to owe him anything. $3.5 million if he does make the roster. And as we get close to spring training, we still have potentially an insane amount of money to spend. Obviously, we've got a few options on guys that will likely get picked up when they make our major league roster. So there's going to be a little more money spent, but still absolutely plenty. I think we're going to throw an offer out to Tommy Edman. With the trade we made last episode, I think we've got our shortstop of the future. But he is a pretty competent, or more than competent in some ways, defensive infielder, good personality in the clubhouse, and kind of an acceptable bat. Would happily pay him $6.5 million for next season. The question is how long he's looking for. Yeah, he's looking for a 4-year deal with player options. I am somewhat less interested in doing that. I'll make it a 3-year deal if we can turn the last... actually, we'll turn the second year into a team option. That may make it a little more interesting for him. And we're actually going to front load it kind of to a silly degree, because we've got money to spend right now. Yeah, we're going to make them both team options. But hopefully the money is interesting enough for him. The average is over $7 million. He's only looking for $6.5 million. It's just that we've, we'll cut it back a little bit. Yeah, we're going to try to take advantage of the money that we've got to spend this year. I don't know that Edman's a guy that we're going to want long term. But if we can get him for this deal, $10 million this year, $5 million each of the next 2 years on team options, the average is still $6.67 million. So it's a little more than he's looking for. It's just it's not a 4-year deal, and there's not a player option in the final year. He says he's not willing to think about it. He is willing to do a 2-year deal. I'll do a 2-year deal if there's a team option, dude, but... You're on thin ice with us if you don't accept this offer, though. giving you an average of 7.5 million. You're just looking for 7 million, but we are switching it from a player option in the second year to a team option. But you're getting $10 million up front, guaranteed at least 10.5 million, and then you become a free agent. You would think this would be a pretty obvious trade for him to make. He wants 14 million over 2 years. We're giving him 10.5 guaranteed for the first year, at the very least. And he's willing to think about it, so that's good. And we did get one other international amateur free agent signed with the last 250,000. We had David Morales, a pitcher who was looking for 240,000. We just offered him 250 and hoped. Lefty pitcher, questionable whether he's really going to develop enough to be useful, but he is only 16 years old and he's already throwing in the low to mid 90s, so worth a flyer. And obviously love to get as many international amateur free agents into the complex as possible. To some extent, obviously you love to get front end talent, like we did with the center fielder we picked up, but other than the front end talent, I think a lot of it is just a numbers game, and you want to get as many shots on goal with players in your system as possible. And we made it to the start of spring training, got 51 players in camp, only 20 pitchers, a bit surprisingly, 31 position players. We'll see who's healthy, but we've got twice as many players as we're going to need for the 26-man roster. So hopefully there will be a opportunity to bring on some people who can help. If we do end up signing Tommy Edman, that'll be a 52nd player in camp, and we will need to cut half of those players to get to a 26-man roster. So I don't know about the quality we have in camp, but we certainly have plenty of numbers at this point. And we did end up getting Tommy Edman signed. He had a lot of interest from other teams, but we had so much money that we ended up still bringing him on board. A little bit front-loaded still. You can see 13.6 million this year, so a lot more than it was originally, and we've got a team option for next season. So at least we got the structure we wanted, and we do have him on board. Still have a little over a week left in spring training, so hopefully we'll be able to get him ready to help in our starting lineup, probably as a second baseman, I'm guessing. And we have made it to opening day out of spring training. You can see we are still 28th in budget, 32nd in payroll. We haven't cut our team down yet. We still got the 52 players on the active roster, so we've got some big decisions to make as far as the cuts that we need to make. We were 11 and 16 in spring training, so not that spring records matter all that much, but we were not horrible. We weren't the best. We weren't the worst team in baseball. Our forever rivals, the Nashville Stars, were 12 and 11, so they were a little better than us. They have definitely invested more in experienced players than we have. Tend to think that they will have a better record than we will this year, but hopefully we are building these wings, so we're going to be the more successful franchise over the longer term. And we've made the difficult decisions to get our 26-man roster constructed. Let's quickly meet the 26 players who will be the inaugural members of the Buffalo Wings franchise before we play opening day home against Miami. Starting rotation, Tyler McGill, who we signed as a free agent this past offseason. The hope is that he'll be moving towards more of a third, fourth, fifth starter role as we add some more starting talent over the coming years. But he is our ace right now. Left-hander Martin Perez, minor league free agent signing. Spent last year in Albany, where he was 8-9 with a 4.29 ERA. Going to get an opportunity to start for us. He's got the stamina to start. I don't know that he's really got a brilliant enough arsenal. Good movement on his pitches, extreme ground ball tendencies, so he shouldn't give up a ton of home runs, but he may give up a lot of everything else. 3-starter, Misael Tamares, a guy who we picked in the Rule 5, or not the Rule 5 draft, the expansion draft. When you see the trade with Jacksonville, you'll remember the dummy team we had to set up, and that means it was an expansion draft player. Spent the last couple years in Houston with a lot of success. Doesn't necessarily have ideal stamina for a starter, but we'll see what he can do. Sean Sullivan, who was our second-round pick in 2024, was 12-6 with a 3.74 ERA in AAA Albany last year. We'll see what the youngster can do. And then Tanner Houck, Rule 5 draft pick that we made from the Mets, and he is going to be our number 5 starter this year. So we have a free agent. We have a minor league free agent signing. We have a guy that we picked in the expansion draft. We have a player that we drafted in the amateur draft. And we have a Rule 5 guy in our rotation. So quite a combination there. Bryce Miller is going to be our closer. Another guy who was picked in the expansion draft for us. Our setup men, lefty Javier Atencio, another guy who was picked up in the expansion draft, as well as Mike Bauman, another expansion draft player as well. Middle relievers, Colby White, picked in the expansion draft. Max Meyer, who was a Rule 5 draft pick of ours from Nashville. Brandon Williamson, another expansion draft pick, is our long reliever. On the left side, Mike Burrows, another expansion draft pick, long reliever on the right side. And Raylan Perez, a Rule 5 draft pick, is going to be our final member of the 13-man pitching staff. So good mix between expansion players, Rule 5 players, players that we picked in the draft, minor league free agents, and even an actual free agent in Tyler McGill to head our rotation. So I don't think it's a great rotation by any stretch of the imagination, but we'll see how these inaugural Buffalo Wings can do here in the 2026 season. Taking a look at the 13 position players on our 26-man roster, Christian Vasquez, we signed him only about 2 months ago to that one-year deal. Like the defense, like the captain personality, the bat is a big concern for us, but hopefully he can help our pitching staff with his excellent defense. He's going to be backed up by Israel Pineda, Rule 5 acquisition from this past season. So we're going to keep him on the major league roster. Like the bat of Pineda, don't love his average catcher ability defensively, but he's only going to be the backup. May get some pinch hitting opportunities in the late innings with the fact that Vasquez doesn't bring much to the table with his bat at this point. Starting first baseman, the veteran Jose Abreu was a free agent signing to that one-year contract. I think that gives us another captain personality and a legitimate bat who will be hitting in the 5 spot in our lineups. Jacob Amaya, a guy that we picked in the expansion draft, is going to be a utility infielder for us. Starting second baseman, the recently signed Tommy Edman. Love the defense that he brings, and we got him on a front-loaded contract with an option for next year. Nick York, another guy that we picked in the expansion draft, going to be a utility infielder for us, and actually our starting designated hitter and a leadoff hitter for us against left-handed pitching. Nolan Jones is a guy who we picked in the Rule 5 draft from the Stars. I think he's got an interesting enough bat that we are going to keep him on the major league roster as another utility infielder, more of a corner outfielder, corner infielder type of guy. Starting third baseman, Jordan Westberg, another guy that we picked in the expansion draft. Really excited to see what the 27-year-old can do. Was pretty productive in Louisville over the last couple of years. Mixed results in Cincinnati, kind of meh, over 205 at-bats. Was fantastic in a small sample size with them at the end of last season. We'll see what he can do as our third baseman. And then our shortstop, Kevin Made, of course, who we picked up in that trade that we made right after the expansion draft when we sent the experienced closer Andres Munoz to Detroit and picked up Made, who can be a very good defensive shortstop, and we think can also have a representative bat at the major league level. Interested in seeing what the pretty solid fielding duo of Edman and Made can do at second and short for us. Loidel Capelli, another guy that we picked in the expansion draft, is going to be our starting left fielder against right-handed pitching. Let's see what the 24-year-old can do in a bit of a youth movement. Eloy Jimenez is going to be a DH/outfielder for us. Experienced bat, minor league free agent signing from a couple of months ago, but we're going to give him an opportunity to hopefully play regularly for us. The center fielder, Jose Siri, we're very strong up the middle, defensively at least. The question is going to be how productive his bat is, but love the range that he's going to have out in center field for us. So with Vasquez, Edman, Made, and Siri, we feel like we are pretty solid up the middle defensively. And we're going to need to be, because I don't know how great the pitching is, and I don't know how many runs we're going to actually score. And last but certainly not least, Jace Barofin, who was our first number 1 draft pick, 20th overall in 2023, gets to make his major league debut. Had a very good year in AAA Albany for us last year, 312, 29 homers, 101 ribbies. Certainly think he's going to be one of the cornerstones that we're going to be trying to build this franchise around, and very interested in seeing what he's going to be able to do for us at the major league level. You can see the rookie, former first-round draft pick is penciled in as our cleanup hitter against right-handed pitching, and going to be hitting third against left-handed pitching. So would think that he is ultimately going to become a pretty popular player with the fans in Buffalo over the years as our first true, hopefully homegrown superstar. And I don't anticipate that it's going to be a great season on the field for us, but financially, hopefully it will be good. You can see on pace to sell almost 17,600 season tickets. We'll see what attendance ends up actually being in our first full year. We've got tons of money if we somehow magically happen to be competitive. Got tons of money to bring on guys closer to the trade deadline to help us. But again, my goal with this team is just to avoid a 100-loss season. You can see our counterparts is the expansion team, the Nashville Stars, expected to go 83-79 from the simulation that was just run. And they think we're going to be a 500 team. I don't see that at all. I think we probably got pretty lucky with this simulation, but we'll find out what really happens in the not-so-distant future when we begin this 2026 season. So thanks for watching. It's been a long journey to get here over the past several episodes and over the past 3+ seasons of baseball, all in the minor leagues until today. And it's going to be great to see what we can turn these Buffalo Wings into. And we'll get our first glance at what they can actually do on the field at the major league level in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.